Captain Peter Cutsey, CDU line selectable circling to land part 2. Something I didn't mention to you in part 1. This particular maneuver has 2 top of descents. The initial top of descent you can see now on the screen at the top of the nav display. When we leave 3,000 feet for the minimum 1,100 feet. Then later on in the maneuver, we're going to have to leave 1,100 feet once we intercept the final approach path, which is the Poppy 3-degree path from 2.5 nautical miles to touchdown. So there are 2 instances of top of descents, which means ideally 2 nautical miles before both top of descents, we should be configuring the MCP, that is the altitude on the MCP should be set to a lower altitude. In the first case, we'll set the MCP altitude to our minimum. In the second case, this is just a demonstration now. In the second case, we'll set the MDA to the threshold elevation plus 50 feet in order for the aircraft to continue in VNAV path uninterrupted. In actual fact, in the real world, when you're on base leg and you see the Poppy, you'll disconnect all auto flight systems. But I'm just demonstrating this to show you how accurate our work is with respect to what we can put in your database for training. And we can help you with your SOPs and how to train for circling to land using all auto flight systems and using a database procedure rather than what you saw me doing in my previous videos. All right, we're at kennel. Now we'll configure for flaps. Flaps 1, set flaps 1 speed. Flaps 5, set flaps 5 speed. The approach and I should say descent and approach briefings and checklists have been complete. 2 nautical miles prior to our descent point, we'll configure. Which is now for landing the 8 items. This is our first setting on the MDA, 1,100, gear down, flaps 15, RMP, AMP checks. We are in VNAV path, and open the speed window and set flaps 15 speed. And of course, the speed brake's armed, part of the 8 items. All right, and there's our vertical path on the NPS scale, and there it is on the nav display. And now we are starting down, in fact. We're using the VSD, vertical situation display. We've just zoomed in to give you a clearer picture of what we're doing. As I mentioned before, the reason why this procedure is so ideal is that you will have trained for the procedure in a simulator, similar to what we're doing now, before your company would install these procedures in your database so that you can follow your company SOPs. We can help your company design SOPs for this type of maneuver. Each airport is different. We have PANS-OPS restrictions and we have chirps restrictions. Abu Dhabi comes under PANS-OPS. The arc here indicates where we're going to be at 1,100 feet. Well, that's what we put in the database. OM31 Echo is how we've coded for this approach, was a hard 1,100 feet because that is our minimum for circling to land. The airport's now in sight, so we can continue with the approach. We'll zoom away so that we can move up to the MCP. Starting our turn, and we'll overlap our heading to what the heading will be, and we know that it'll be 086, and we'll make an adjustment once we get the actual heading. The points have been carefully designed in this particular case at this particular airport for 2.5 nautical mile downwind. It'll vary depending on the airport and the terrain and mountains, such as Busan in South Korea and different places in Morocco that have restrictions because of terrain. In this particular case, the terrain is flat, and the mathematics and software that we're using to design this is applicable to Abu Dhabi only. Remember, flying this procedure will be the same each time. The aircraft will take care of the track for you. Okay, let's zoom out now. We're just going to move up to the MCP. There's our vertical situation display. We're going to configure for flaps 30, which is landing flaps in this case, and set VREF 30 plus 5. Adjust our heading bug to our current heading, and it should be 133 with that wind. We are configured for landing, and the landing check is complete. Let's zoom in now so we can better appreciate what we're doing with this design. Just going to pause the video here. And we're back with you. We've changed the visual scene to a night scene so we can appreciate the popping. The landing check has been completed. And we're starting our turn. We'll adjust the heading to runway track according to your SOPs, generally what most people do. And we have top of descent coming up. We want to make sure we set something lower. So we're going to set 200 feet. So the MDA has been set. That's the second setting. Now remember, this is a visual maneuver. And by that I mean, because it's a visual maneuver, you're going to disconnect all AFDS systems here and manually fly the airplane. But we'll just leave everything engaged to see how accurate all this work that we've been doing for many years, to give you confidence in what the airplane can do. This would be a manual flight, and this would be visual, of course, on a Poppy. And we're in our second stage descent now, as you can see. And the airspeed is correcting itself, and we're making sure of that with the auto throttles. And we'll pause the whole thing in a moment here and have a little look outside. So we're indicating slightly low on the path, just slightly low. You can see it on the VSD, and hopefully the rate will change, and it is changing. And we are, if you notice on the VSD, regaining our path. And now we're indicating on path, and then the aircraft will pitch down again, and it is, in fact. And let's pause. All right. Mission accomplished. 2 red and 2 white. So there you go. That's what we do at Lat Long Inc. 1985, we started doing this, and it will sure increase your profitability in an airline to be able to train for this kind of maneuver. And we'll make sure we put the maneuver in an offsite database so you can train in the simulator properly. And then we'll put it in your real database, and you will fly it in real time. Thanks for watching. This concludes Lat Long Inc.'s work on circling to land. Look for me in my next training video. Thank you.